holding a staff and a lamb or a sheep, which tells us that that person is what? A shepherd. Just by looking at that picture and seeing the staff and the sheep, you knew that that person was a shepherd. Look closely at that staff. It's kind of bent over. Did you know the bishops of the church usually carry a bent over stick like that? We call it a crozier. And why does the bishop carry a crozier like that? Did you ever notice that when Archbishop Johnson comes to town, he carries a stick like that? It's kind of bent over. Why does he carry it? Because that stick reminds him that he's called to be a good shepherd. Ooh, think about that for a moment. The bishops of the church, they carry those sticks to remind themselves, I am called to be a good shepherd. And every time they see that shepherd stick, that staff, that crozier, they ask themselves, how good of a shepherd am I being? Am I shepherding the sheep well? Maybe we should share a crozier, a shepherd's stick, with every parent, right? With every mother, here's your crozier. With every father, with every grandparent, with every brother and sister, and uncle and aunt and cousin. Because all of us should be reminded about how it is that we're taking care of others. In today's responsorial psalm, we're reminded that God is for us like a shepherd. God takes care of us. Are we taking care of one another? In today's first reading, the religious leaders were not taking very good care of the people, which is why Jeremiah writes with such strong word to them, saying, woe to the shepherds who misguide and scatter the flock. Is that why you're a shepherd? No! A shepherd is supposed to take care of the sheep. Moms, dads, grandparents, brothers, sisters, cousins, uncles, aunts, are you being good shepherds? If not, maybe today's a good time to start. To think about who are some of those sheep that maybe we haven't taken care of like we could, and to start being better shepherds. Oh, I know it's tough. It's not always easy, amen? Not always easy. Which is why I love today's second reading. Because St. Paul in today's second reading, in the letter to the Ephesians, 4 times we see the word peace. P-E-A-C-E, peace. We've all seen that word before. Wouldn't it be lovely if we could live in peace with all people? Do you know where the word peace comes from? It comes from a fancy Greek word which means to button. We interrupt this homily for a quick hashtag button check. Are you ready for today's button check? On the count of 3, count how many buttons you're wearing today. On the count of 3, count how many buttons you're wearing. 1, 2, 3. Turn to the person beside you and tell them how many buttons you're wearing today. Think for a moment. Why do you wear buttons? What do buttons do? With a button, you take one piece of cloth, and you take another piece of cloth, and you bring them together. That's what buttons are for. So if the word peace comes from the word to button, what does that mean through peace? Those of us who are far off are brought together and live in peace. Can you think of anyone in your life where you're like this instead of this? Follow me. Can you think of anyone that you really can't stand? Can you think of anyone that you really rather prefer not to talk to or be with for whatever reason? Imagine for a moment living in peace, buttoned together with that person. I have a feeling if that person's not going to reach out to you, it would probably take you putting on your shepherding clothes, put on your shepherd shoes for a moment, pick up your shepherd staff, and reach out to those sheep. 4 times in today's letter to the Ephesians, it talks about Christ being peace and bringing peace, not just to those who are near, but also to those who are far. Brothers and sisters, will you join me today and this week in being a good shepherd and in reaching out not just to those who are near, but also to those who are far, and bringing them together that we might all live in peace.